I love snacks. Just feed yourselves, nourish your bodies. Hey everyone, and welcome to a brand new video. It is Sunday, exactly 10 a.m., and I'm actually just currently sipping on my morning coffee. I'm getting ready to make some brunch. I have no idea what I'm making yet, but I'm gonna just put a bunch of stuff together and we'll see what I come up with. I'm also going to be showing you all what I will be making for the entire day. Not a single thing is being left out, so definitely be sure to stick around for the rest of the video. Okay, so I'm not even gonna lie or try to deny how much I ate this morning. I was extremely hungry, so I felt like I really needed a nice big plate of food to start the day off on the right path. So I started off by simply rinsing some lovely fruit. So as you can see, I have some strawberries here that I've chopped up. And next I decided to pull out 2 kiwis that honestly, at the time, I thought were really nice and ripe, but they didn't turn out to be quite ripe yet, which was unfortunate because they were really difficult to remove from their skin, but that's okay. I still managed to do it and they tasted absolutely phenomenal. And of course, because 2 fruit just weren't enough for me, I decided to also chop up a nice big banana. So once I finished chopping up all of my fruit, I then decided to make some really delicious scrambled eggs. These came out looking quite interesting. I'm not gonna lie, the color was a little off, but you know what? They tasted great, so I honestly cannot complain. And of course, I hate bland food, so I seasoned my eggs with some salt, some black pepper, cumin powder, and garlic powder. Then I pulled out my handy dandy favorite pan of all time and drizzled it with some extra virgin olive oil before turning my heat on to medium-high heat. Once my pan was nice and hot, I then poured my egg mixture into the pan and just kind of let them take their time to cook nicely. Alright, so I was feeling a little bit adventurous this morning and decided to add some St. Albert's cheese curds into my eggs. So you're probably asking yourself 2 questions. Why are my eggs brown? And why are my eggs sticking to my pan so badly? Well, first of all, I used cumin, which is why my eggs are brown. And second of all, this is a really old pan, so it's starting to stick and honestly it's failing me. So it is what it is. Okay, so let's move on to what really matters here, which is the avocado toast. So I pulled out some pretty nice looking avocados, except for that one little one that I just showed you. That one looks kind of weird. I then added them into a little bowl, seasoned them with salt and black pepper, and just smushed them until they were pretty much like a paste. And then I decided to add some cayenne powder because I felt like it needed a little bit of more flavor. And for the toast part, I decided to use one of my favorite kinds of breads. It is a sprouted rye and 12 grain bread by Stone Mill Bakehouse. Stone Mill is hands down one of my favorite bakehouses. I highly recommend it, and they have so many different varieties and flavors to choose from, so don't sleep on that. Anyway, so then I toasted 2 slices of bread and just slabbed that avocado paste directly onto both pieces of my toast. Okay, so my scrambled eggs do look a little weird. I'm not gonna lie, I will totally be honest with you, they do look a little weird. But I do want to say that cumin makes the biggest difference flavor-wise to eggs. So all I have to say is try it before you judge it, okay? Just try it out. Next time you make some scrambled eggs, add a little cumin in there. You're really going to be impressed by the amount of flavor that cumin adds to a typical scrambled egg. Then I added some fruit to the other corner of my plate, and honestly, this fruit looks so good right now. I think I'm gonna probably go make myself a little bowl of fruit for dessert tonight. It just looks so good. They look so fresh and like refreshing. I love fruit. So to jazz up my fruit a little bit, I decided to sprinkle some hemp hearts on top of them. Typically, I will either use hemp hearts or chia seeds, or sometimes, honestly, a combination of the two, because I just love how they jazz up fruit. And because my avocado toast looked a little bit plain and boring, I decided to top that off with some sesame seeds. Oftentimes I will use everything but the bagel seasoning, but unfortunately I ran out, and I do plan on going to buy some more soon, but for now, sesame seeds will do. I cannot explain how absolutely delicious this brunch was. It was so filling, so like satisfying, and I was not hungry until dinner time, so this was definitely a hit. Around 3 p.m. that day, I got a little bit hungry and decided to make myself a snack. So here I have some cocoa powder by Camino that I decided to use to make some hot chocolate. I was going to use some prepackaged hot chocolate mix, but I decided to skip out on it because the sugar content just always makes me really jittery and just overly energetic, so I decided to just make this one from scratch. So as usual, I did not measure any of this. I just honestly eyeballed the entire thing. I think I added maybe like a spoon and a half of cocoa powder into my mug. And then added some boiling water into the mug. Initially, I only wanted to add a little bit of boiling water simply to dissolve the cocoa powder, but unfortunately, I made the mistake of adding way too much boiling water after actually dissolving the cocoa powder, so I was pretty disappointed in myself at this point, but that's okay because I stopped early enough to still give myself a little bit of room to add some almond milk. So it wasn't that bad and it still tasted great. So as long as it tastes great, that's all that matters. So anyways, then I added a little bit of almond milk, which honestly didn't make it very creamy and I probably could have gone without it, but I figured I would add it anyways and it still tasted delicious. And of course, to sweeten it up a little bit, I added some maple syrup because I love this stuff and I prefer adding maple syrup to sweeten things up as opposed to using white sugar or brown sugar or even coconut palm sugar. I just prefer it and it just adds this nice mapley flavor to my hot chocolate. I also decided to nibble on some nuts while I was sipping my wonderful hot chocolate. And life was just great at this moment. I really enjoyed the snack and it was just a really great way to have a nice afternoon and relax and enjoy a snack, which I love very much. I love snacks. I really do. They're so amazing. Okay, don't judge me. I decided to go back and add some more maple syrup in my hot chocolate because it really was not sweet enough. It was actually quite bitter because the cocoa powder is very strong. So yeah, I just added a little dash of extra maple syrup. Tonight's dinner really tested my patience. I'm not gonna lie. I decided to be very creative and be a little risky with dinner tonight, so I made a baked brie and I decided to wrap my brie in some delicious puff pastry. But as you can see, the puff pastry was breaking on me pretty much on all corners and it was just a very frustrating experience, but I really enjoyed the final product. It was really delicious and we just loved it. It was the most satisfying baked brie we've had in a really long time, so I really enjoyed making this and it tasted superb. To make this baked brie, I simply rolled out a piece of puff pastry. Now, I made sure to give this enough time to completely thaw out. I think I left it out for 2 hours before I started making it. And then I simply sliced up half a pear. I believe it was half a pear, maybe it was a full pear. I don't remember, but I think it looks like it may have been half a pear. And then I just simply heated up the separate little pieces of pear on a flat pan on top of my stove until the pears became nice and soft. To add a little bit of extra sweetness to my pears, I decided to add a little bit of maple syrup, of course, because I love maple syrup. I add it to everything to sweeten them up, so definitely decided to add some of that into my pears. Once my pears were nice and soft and had finished cooking, I took them off of my stovetop because I wanted them to cool down completely before I added them to my puff pastry. If I were to add these pears to my puff pastry right after finishing the cooking process, the puff pastry would definitely melt and break because it's mainly just butter. I mean, it really is. So anyways, after they had cooled down, I added some cinnamon on top of the pear because cinnamon is amazing, and why wouldn't you add it to something like this? So I added some cinnamon. Okay, maybe a lot of cinnamon because it looks like it was a lot of cinnamon, but it was still really delicious. On top of my pears and cinnamon, I added some Brie cheese, and then I simply folded the puff pastry around the pears and the Brie, trying as hard as I possibly could to not let anything break or tear. And unfortunately, the puff pastry did fail me a couple of times, but that's okay. I fixed it. I patched it all back up, and eventually, it looked a little something like this. It was perfect. I had fixed everything, so life was good at this point. To accompany my baked brie, I decided to whip up a quick kale salad. I love kale salads, they're delicious, but sometimes the kale can just be a little bit too tough and fibrous to chew, so it's not always enjoyable. Although what I have started to do more often now to my kale is I marinate it with some lemon juice and olive oil and season it with some salt and pepper. And then I simply kind of go in with my hands and I massage it. I massage it for a good 2 to 3 minutes because I find that massaging it really helps release that fibrous texture that it tends to have, and it makes it a lot easier to chew. So I massage my kale every single time I make kale salad. I hate boring salads, so I decided to jazz my salad up by adding some chopped cucumber, chopped tomatoes, red bell pepper, and some red cabbage as well. I cannot eat a boring salad. I'm really not that type of person. I just cannot be forced to do that. So I like to make sure that my salads are nice and fun and interesting to eat as well. And I really try my best to use high quality ingredients as well. And of course, I just made a mess. Typical me, always making a mess in the kitchen, but that's okay because that's why I love cooking. It's just fun. You get to just play in the kitchen. I love it. To jazz the salad up some more, I decided to sprinkle lots and lots of pumpkin seeds. And of course, to give it a little bit of sweetness, I also sprinkled some dried cranberries on top. Finally, I remembered I had some leftover shrimp in the fridge, so I just pulled that out, warmed it up a little bit in my microwave, and just kind of decorated the top of my salad with it. And last but certainly not least, I decided to drizzle some lovely tahini on top of everything. I find this just did a wonderful job of wrapping all of the flavors up and just making this a fantabulous salad. Definitely worth it. I would make the salad any day. Can we marry baked brie? Because honestly, I would marry this right now. I mean, just look at it. It looks delicious. I was so proud of how well it turned out. And I just wanted to say that the pear and the cheese juices were actually kind of starting to come out of the puff pastry. And it was just bubbling inside the oven. And oh my gosh, it was so good. I decided to pair the baked brie with some toasted baguette. You can use whatever type of bread you want. Or if you don't want to use bread, you don't have to use bread. And that was it for dinner. This was hands down the most delicious and satisfying dinner we've had in a very long time. And to end the night, I decided to make myself a nice warm cup of peppermint tea. I hope you all enjoyed this What I Eat in a Day video, and let me know what you think of it in the comments down below. Thanks, everyone.